We all tend to trust our senses. We think of them as these crystal clear windows, just showing us the world exactly as it is. But what if that's not the whole story? What if your senses are less like windows and more like artists, actively building your reality piece by piece?
So let's just kick things off with a mind-bender of a question. Is the world you experience really there? Or is it more like a stunningly realistic simulation, custom-built just for you by your own brain? Let's dive in and find out how it all works.
Okay, so it all starts with this process called sensation, and you can think of it like a massive intelligence gathering operation. Your body is constantly detecting raw data from the world around you, light, sound waves, chemicals, you name it. Then, through this amazing process called transduction, it translates all that data into the only language your brain speaks, neurochemical messages. But here's the thing, not all that data gets through. Your senses have these gatekeepers, or thresholds. The absolute threshold is the bare minimum you need to even notice something is there at all. Then you've got the just noticeable difference, which is all about detecting change. And Weber's law explains that this is all about proportion. For instance, you'd for sure notice if someone added one more candle to a room with only 2, right? But you'd probably never notice if they added that same single candle to a room that already had 100. So the big takeaway here is that your brain is constantly filtering what it even bothers to process.
All right, let's zoom in on the big one, vision. This is, without a doubt, the primary artist our brain uses to paint the vivid world we all experience.
So the whole show starts when light streams into your eye and the lens focuses it onto the retina at the back. Now, the best way to think of the retina is like a biological movie screen. It's where the raw light information gets captured before it's converted into a signal the brain can actually use.
And on that screen, you've got this amazing tag team of specialized cells. Rods and cones. Think of rods as your night vision crew. They're amazing at detecting shapes and motion when the lights are low. Then you've got the cones. They're the superstars of color and fine detail, but they really need bright light to do their best work.
So how in the world do these tiny cones create all the vibrant colors we see? Well, one idea, the trichromatic theory, is pretty straightforward. It says we have 3 types of cones, one for red, one for green, and one for blue, and every color we see is just a different mix of signals from those 3. But then things get a little weirder with the opponent process theory. It suggests that our cells actually work in opposing pairs. So for example, some cells get turned on by green and turned off by red.
Now, I know that second theory sounds kind of out there, right? Cells working against each other? But you don't have to take my word for it. In fact, let's put it to the test. Right now.
Okay, here's what I need you to do. Stare right at that white dot in the middle of the flag. Don't blank, don't look away, just keep your eyes locked on that dot. I'm going to be quiet for about 30 seconds to let you really focus. You ready? Let's do it.
All right, that's it. Now, quickly look over at a blank white wall or a piece of paper. What did you see? Whoa, right? You should be seeing an after image of the flag, but in its real colors, red, white, and blue. What's happening is you've basically tired out the green and black receptors in your eyes. So when you looked away, their opposing partners, in this case red and white, fired up in a rebound. That is the opponent process theory in action. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, how cool was that? Now, let's switch gears and tune in to our next sense, hearing. This is how our brain takes simple physical vibrations in the air and turns them into language, music, and the entire soundscape of our lives.
Deep inside your ear, you've got this incredible little piece of biological hardware called the cochlea. It's a coiled tube that's filled with fluid, and as sound waves make that fluid vibrate, it triggers nerve impulses. That's the magic moment, right there. That's the ear's version of transduction, turning a physical vibration into a message for the brain.
But how do we tell the difference between a high note and a low note? Pitch. Well, there are a few competing ideas. Pitch theory says it's all about where on the cochlea's membrane the vibration happens, kind of like hitting different keys on a piano. But frequency theory says, no, it's about the rate of the nerve impulses. And then volley theory is a bit of a team effort, suggesting that for higher pitches, neurons fire in a rapid sequence or a volley to get the job done. All right, let's move on from waves and vibrations to the world of chemistry. We're about to see that what we call taste is actually a powerful team effort between what's happening in your mouth and your nose. Now, this is where things get really interesting because it's a perfect example of how our senses don't work alone. Think about it. When you take a bite of food, your tongue picks up basic tastes, but at the same time, aromas from the food travel up the back of your throat into your nose. It's the combination of those two signals that your brain creates into the rich experience of flavor. That's why when you have a cold and your nose is stuffed up, food tastes so bland. So let's meet our chemical crew. Taste, or gustation, gives us the fundamentals. Sweet, sour, salty, bitter, that savory taste of umami, and even a taste for fat. But smell. Smell is the rebel of the senses. It is the only sense that doesn't first stop at the thalamus, which is like the brain's central switchboard. Instead, it has a direct hotline to the parts of the brain that handle memory and emotion. And that's exactly why a single smell can instantly transport you back to your childhood kitchen.
Okay, so we've covered the big five senses, the ones we all learn about in school. But guess what? There's more to the story. Let's explore your body's own internal compass, its built-in GPS and status report system.
I mean, think about your skin. It's not just a wrapper for your body. It's this huge, intelligent sensory organ, absolutely packed with different kinds of receptors for pressure, temperature, and touch. And get this, the sensation of hot isn't from a single hot receptor. It's actually created when both your warm and your cold receptors get triggered at the exact same time.
And then we have to talk about pain. It's so much more than just a simple signal from your body. It is heavily interpreted, shaped, and sometimes even created by the brain. A really powerful example of this is phantom limb sensation, where a person can feel excruciating pain in a limb that isn't even there anymore. It's a profound reminder of just how much our brain constructs our sensory world.
And to wrap up our tour of the body's senses, let's talk about two hidden superheroes you're using every single second without even realizing it. Your vestibular sense, located in your inner ear, is your sense of balance. It's what tells you which way is up. And your kinesthetic sense is your awareness of where your body parts are and how they're moving. That's the sense that lets you, say, touch your nose with your eyes closed.
So, we've broken down all these different senses piece by piece. But the real magic, the absolute wonder of it all, is how they all work together. And this is the most important thing to remember from all of this. Your experience of reality is not a collection of separate channels. It's a seamless blend. It's like your brain is this master conductor, bringing all these different instruments, sight, sound, smell, touch, together to play one single unified symphony that you call reality.
So, we've come full circle. The world you see and hear and feel, it isn't just a recording of what's out there. It's a masterpiece, a construction project built from the ground up by your brain. Which leaves us with one final, fascinating question to ponder. If your brain is this powerful an architect of your reality, what else is it capable of creating?